Previously on Captain Save a Home.
Welcome to Greenfield, California.
We will be installing a 10-foot by 20-foot structure on this concrete location.
You're going to want to get the screws and washers, a few of them set up. I'll be screwing both panels into that piece there.
I just wanted to get something to kind of hold the corner up.
Now that the truss assemblies are in place, we must install the top rails that stabilize the framing between the trusses. Captain, I'm sure you are aware that this is the first piece of shed we have completed together.
So you start with putting the wire into the very last hole. When installing the header bar,
we will have fewer pieces of shed to deal with next time.
If we are now up to date, let's continue the storage shed assembly. Alright, so the gable's going to go in. I showed you a close-up of Janice. Pause it right there for a second.
Of course.
Okay, now go back a little bit. Right there.
Is everything all right?
I want to show everyone a little more detail from when we worked on the header.
Searching the archives for footage with those parameters. File. Located.
Roll that beautiful beam footage.
Header beam footage. Playback initiated.
The top rail should stay independent from the header and the door jamb. They should not be attached to each other at all. We're going to get this guy in. It slips in just like this. Now, as you can tell, there's that notch right there. Get the other piece in. This has to be the way that everything goes in. I know that may look confusing at the moment, but this here is the top plate and the door stop. This is the door jamb. Back in here, this is the header bar, the one that is the U shape or the C shape. And then the top rail goes on top of that. You're also going to have that same setup over here. Okay, so now we put the brackets back in. Those go at the top corners to connect the header bar, door stop, and the door jamb. And based on the design, it's also supposed to be able to square everything back up and not have issues. You can tell that the holes aren't quite lined up. So what you can do is you can actually put something in between it here So that way you kind of have this type of a gap. Once it's lined up and you've got the gable in, you'll want to take those pieces out, obviously.
And now, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Alright, so the gable's going to go in. I showed you a close-up of how to assemble the gable. Those center bars that connect the two pieces of the gable together, we're loosening those up because it was made evident that the holes in the header were not lining up with the gable. So I want to loosen that up a little bit, make sure everything will at least go in, and then hopefully as we tighten everything up, things will close in the way it needs to.
Based on where the gable is going to be screwed into, that corner screw will have to come out at the top rail, and of course then we'll probably have to fight putting it back in a little bit, but we'll see how it goes.
We will be treating the rear gable the same way that we did with the front gable. Both halves and the brackets will be loosely attached, while we secure it to the top rail. Like before, we are installing the screws in an alternating pattern, to ensure that all the screw holes line up. We will tighten everything, only after all of the mounting screws are installed.
Okay, our next step is to put the supports in. We're going to have two along the center here at the top, and then one on each side along these brackets here. So we're going to go ahead and assemble the center one. These are the pieces that you're going to want to use, and you're going to want to use the round-headed screws that require the nuts. And it's going to connect two of these together in this manner. With the strip pieces on one side, we'll just go ahead and get those lined up into those holes up here. And then we'll bring the side that does not have the strips on them yet, bring it over here and slide the strips through this way.
This step would benefit from a second person. However, we believe this is the most effective way of accomplishing the task if you are working alone.
Now to put these in all by yourself, what you'll do is you'll set a step ladder, a ladder, in this case a platform. The platform is going to be able to reach both sides pretty much. Step ladder and any kind of ladder you have to set up to. What you do is you take a screw, a bolt, a nail, whatever you might have around, and you slide it through the hole there. This will help. And just slide it into the mounting holes for the screws for now. What that will do is that'll help keep it in place, and if it does decide it wants to come out, it'll guide it to the bolts itself, and the bolts will actually catch it. You'll want to put the first one in, get it set up, and just loosely for now. That way you can get this other side secured. Now it's not going to move unless you want it to. Tighten them up a bit. looks like they're holding up on their own. And looks like from now on I'm going to need a ladder to be able to get up to where I can see everything now. Well, looks like it's one of those times where I need help lining it up. And of course, we can either go with the screw, long bolt, long screw, a nail, or we can always use the wire that we used earlier.
So I hope you can see where the 4 screws go with the nuts. Now, and I'm guessing you'll be able to tell that there's going to be some difficulty here in getting those started, especially since this wall was bowed in and the top was bowed out. I mean, there are just so many things that are causing it to not want to line up. So actually having pieces in the bolt holes themselves, or the screw holes themselves, will help in lining up the first screw. And then as you progressively go, you'll have to press on this and then pull in on this, which, you know, takes a little bit to be able to do both at once and try to get some screws in. But that's why I figured, you know, you just put some temporary long screws or temporary long bolts, just as long as it helps the holes align. Then you can press them together and be able to get the screw and nut in there.
First, you just line one of the screws up in the hole on this side. Take a nut. Kind of thread the nut a little bit. Yeah. With your socket, put it on this side here with the nut. Use your drill or your screwdriver, whichever one you're using, and tighten it up. Seems like it's getting more and more stable as we progress here. Next step, putting the roof panels up.
The roof panels follow the same principle as the wall panels while installing. Start with one corner and alternate to the opposing corner. Perform the other corners the same before installing the screws in the rest of the panel. Keep the screws loose to help with alignment. However, be sure to leave the open side of the panel alone to allow for the next panel to overlap, and tighten the screws once each panel is aligned.
The instructions don't give any details on where to place yourself while installing the ridge trim. They may suggest that you position yourself in the opening of the roof just after installing each row of roof panels. That poses some difficulty in having enough reach to get to the screw locations, though. The most successful way we had found was coming up from the side of the roof. Unfortunately, this can create a risk of falling through the roof, or at minimum, you could damage the roof panels. If you are coming up from the side of the roof, we suggest that you use a piece of plywood or long enough 2x4s that can span the truss assemblies to support your weight.
When you are installing the roof trim at the corners, the gable trim should be placed over the side roof trim. Surprisingly enough, this will minimize the water that can travel into the structure. In addition, you will want to refrain from installing those screws until the plastic corners are in place.
So there we go.
To begin assembling the large doors, we must assemble the top and bottom rails consisting of the rail itself and the corner brackets, and locate the door sides for the panels to attach to, as well as the center brace.
This is one of the doors. I'm going to go ahead and cinch in this cross member here. That will give it some sort of stability. Not enough to get the middle in, but I can show you how to do that. Now this goes considerably quicker if you have two people, but this is yet another way to be able to do this if it's just yourself doing it. To put this together in this step, we use the F2, which is the flat screw with the nut. So we want to put, and since it's going to be exposed to the outside, we need to put washers on them. Now again, when we're putting in several screws to line everything up, we want them to stay loose until we have all of them in. The panel itself has to go through this notch here, but the side piece has to stick out. That might sound all well and good if you had a second person. It's a little bit tricky because these panels are still pretty floppy, so you need to have them all lined up into that groove, all lined up to that groove to get them in that groove. So what I've done is taken another piece and tuck that between the platform and the door itself. That will keep the top of the panel in place. It'll make it a whole lot easier to get the top piece of the door in. Now I did have to stand it up after all. One of the things I didn't like about doing that is that in some cases, since you have the exposed panel at the bottom, try to do this, you could risk damaging that. The reason I had to lift it is because regardless of how far I was pushing the panel up to line up to that groove, several locations of the panel just chose to be stubborn about that. Now standing it up, it did make it work because I was able to see everything all at once. However, like I was saying, the unprotected edge of the sheet could suffer damage from that. So let's get that top piece secured. We'll flip it around and be able to stand it up. I'd feel a lot better once we have that edge there to protect the panel. The angle braces, they have screw holes here, and it's telling us, the instructions are telling us that we need to drill holes through the panels that line up with the angle braces on the door itself. Then we'll be using the screws with the nuts again. Okay, as you can see, at the moment, right here, this plate goes right along there. The top holes of the plate go to the bottom holes here, and that's before the cane latch goes in. All right. And well, just to show you, there's a location at the bottom for the bracket that will take a couple of screws also. So one, We're gonna go there.
If what you saw was helpful, intriguing, or entertaining, please like us, share with your friends, and subscribe to be notified of newly released issues. And leave a comment below if you have any questions about the projects you see here. We would enjoy hearing from you. But, for now, what kind of people would we be if we didn't keep the viewers in suspense? They will just have to join us next time to find out what happens next.
Wow, Janice. That sounded a little harsh, but you're not wrong.
I am just relieved that we were able to get a few more pieces of shed completed.
And it looks like we're almost done.